God revealed future dangers to Blessed Anna Maria Taigi long before they happened.
She prophesied shipwrecks, assassination plots, devastating fires, and other calamities long before they occurred.
Today we're looking at 5 of the most astonishing prophecies from her life.
A nobleman named Carlo Bandini had heard reports of Blessed Anna Maria Taigi's extraordinary gifts, but he was hesitant to visit her. Even when his father urged him to seek her out during a trip to Rome, he put it off. Eventually, however, he agreed to go.
As soon as they met, Anna Maria spoke about the reluctance he had felt to seek her out. She also revealed details about his interior life, things that, in his judgment, she could have only known through divine revelation. Bandini was astonished, but an even greater surprise was yet to come. Shortly before he was scheduled to return home to Mascaretta, Anna Maria warned him about a serious danger he would encounter on his journey. So she told him that the driver of his carriage would leave the old road and take a newly constructed one instead.
"You will recognize the danger," she said, "and you will call out to him, but he will not listen."
The prediction seemed strangely specific, yet everything happened exactly as she had said.
At the very place she had indicated, the driver left the safe road and turned onto the new route. Bandini either failed to notice the change or had forgotten Anna Maria's warning. But after traveling some distance, her words suddenly came back to him. Immediately he called out to the driver to slow down. The man either could not stop the horses or would not do so. As Bandini's alarm grew, he became so desperate that he even threatened the driver with his pistols. But the carriage continued forward at full speed.
Then, when they reached a dangerous section of the road, disaster struck. The carriage overturned with tremendous force. Bandini's servant received a fatal blow to the head and died from his injuries. Bandini himself survived. Reflecting on the event afterward, he simply stated, "I myself escaped quite miraculously." He later recounted these events under oath during the Church's investigation into the life of Blessed Anna Maria Taigi. It's one thing to have supernatural knowledge of a danger of a stranger, but when it comes to your own child, that's a little different.
One day, while her son Camillo was away serving in the military, Anna Maria suddenly rushed from her home in tears and hurried to the church of the Madonna della Pietà. Her neighbors noticed her distress and asked what had happened. "My son is about to drown," she told them. The words were startling. Yet some time after, Anna Maria returned home with a radiant expression. The fear had gone, replaced by joy. "The Madonna has saved my Camillo," she said.
What no one around her knew was that at that very moment, Camillo was aboard a ship caught in a violent storm at sea. The winds raged, the waves battered the vessel, and the situation became so desperate that the captain announced to both the crew and passengers that all hope of saving the ship was gone. Yet somehow they survived. The storm passed, the vessel was spared, and everyone aboard escaped disaster. The captain himself would later testify that their deliverance from the shipwreck was nothing short of miraculous. So we're parents of 8 children, and I don't know if you are a parent, but have you ever had that experience where you just have this intuition of knowing you have to pray for your child now, or there's a need that you kind of intuitively know that you should intercede for your child? I think many parents have experienced that. We've experienced that.
Mm-hmm.
And here we have Blessed Anna Maria Taigi, I think, experiencing that, but really at a higher degree, right? She really all of a sudden has a supernatural knowledge of exactly what's happening in a child's life. I think that the practical lesson from this story for us is that if we have those intuitions and that nudge to intercede, to actually go ahead and do that for our children or our loved one, but then we can invoke Blessed Anna Maria Taigi's intercession. Mm-hmm. So here's a mother who had great concern for her own children, was given this incredible gift of knowledge. I think she's also there available to us, our friend in heaven, us as parents who want to pray for our children. Now, the next example is in regards to a high-ranking prelate in Rome.
One evening, a distinguished cardinal was preparing to go for a walk in a particular part of the city. As Anna Maria looked into the mysterious sun, she suddenly saw something alarming. A group of enemies had laid a plan to ambush the cardinal along the very route he intended to take.
Realizing the danger, she wasted no time. She immediately asked the priest who was with her to go and warn His Eminence. The message was simple: do not take the road you had planned to follow. Choose a different route instead. The warning left the cardinal astonished. He had never told anyone where he intended to walk that evening. Yet somehow Anna Maria not only knew his plans, but also knew of the hidden danger waiting ahead.
Even the Pope took an interest in Anna Maria Taigi. Pope Pius VII had already heard reports of Anna Maria's extraordinary gifts, yet his esteem for her was not based on those reports alone, but also on a revelation that she had made concerning him personally. At one point, the Pope sent word asking Anna Maria to write something for him. The request greatly troubled her.
Anna Maria was deeply humbled, and the thought of writing to the Vicar of Christ filled her with fear. Yet, because she believed she was acting in obedience, she took up her pen. She chose a very simple subject. Rather than writing about some great spiritual matter, she wrote about an event from the childhood of Pope Pius VII, describing it in remarkable detail. When the Pope read her account, he was surprised. He declared that every detail was perfectly true.
So I'm just curious, did the Pope just ask her to write on any topic, or was he specific?
Yeah, so from the reading, it seemed like the Pope was putting her to the test. He was like,
just write me something.
Just write me something. And she said, okay, here's a chapter from your past, Your Holiness. And remarkable detail. The next prophecy that Anna Maria gave that we'd like to highlight is in regards to one of the major basilicas in Rome.
Anna Maria often saw future disasters while looking into the mysterious sun. Floods, earthquakes, fires, and other calamities would appear before her. Many times she responded with intense prayer and acts of penance, and it was believed that these sufferings helped obtain God's mercy and avert the disasters she had foreseen.
But not always. There was occasions when she understood that the divine decree would not change. One striking example involved the Basilica of St. Paul outside the walls of Rome. Several months before a devastating fire broke out there, Anna Maria saw the disaster while praying before a crucifix. She was also given to understand why God was permitting it.
The reason was profanations had been committed in the basilica, and the fire was allowed as a punishment for those offenses. She even heard the words,
"I will make of this place a heap of ruins."
Anna Maria prayed fervently that the disaster might be prevented, but this time her prayers were not granted. The fire came, just as she had foreseen. Her confessor later explained that Anna Maria continually saw fires, storms, earthquakes, and other upheavals in nature within the mysterious sun. She also saw countless symbolic images, whose meaning was often hidden from her unless our Lord chose to explain them or inspired her to ask about them.
Yet despite all these visions, one thing occupied her heart more than anything else. As her confessor put it, the conversion of sinners is what interested her. So here we have an example of Blessed Anna Maria Taigi having an understanding that there is consequences to sin. This is something that is sometimes lost within our culture today. In fact, our culture today says there's no such thing as sin. But even if you look at how the church communicates, or members of the church communicate the truths of the Catholic faith, there's often an overemphasis on mercy. And we forget about the consequence of sin and that there's actually judgment. The saints never forgot this. And Blessed Anna Maria Taigi is an example where she's shown natural upheavals directly caused because of sin. When's the last time you heard someone say that? That the disorder that's happening within the natural order of things is due to sin. Mm-hmm. And in fact, in one sense, we know this is true because there is no suffering in the world except that which is due to sin. It's a consequence of the fall. Anna Maria brings that line a little bit farther, particularly with the fire in the Basilica, to say this fire was caused particularly because of a certain sin. And bring that to your attention, maybe for your intercession, to ask God's mercy upon the world. Mm-hmm. Now, we'll shift gears for this last story. It's not exactly a prophecy, but I just thought it was so interesting that we just had to include it in this episode.
One day, a priest named Don Raffaelli went to visit Anna Maria and found her confined to bed. She was suffering greatly. Her legs were severely swollen, and when he left her, her condition seemed to be getting worse.
Following morning, Don Raffaele found himself deeply troubled. According to his testimony, he was so disturbed that he did not dare celebrate Mass. While praying, he commanded Anna Maria, in the name of obedience, to cure herself, rise from her bed, and come to see him at the convent of Saint Bonaventure.
Less than an hour later, the convent bell rang. Hearing it, Don Raffaele hurried to the door. To his astonishment, Anna Maria was standing there. She had walked all the way to the convent and was flushed from the speed of her journey. Smiling, she said, "Do not play any more tricks of this sort. I am the mother of a family. I cannot waste my time and come so far." Having reassured him, she returned home. Don't waste my time.
I'm a mother, 7 children. I got duties.
You make me walk all the way here just so that you can see God's greatness.
So here we are. Thanks for watching. Share with us below what stood out to you and why, and we'll see you soon. Blessed Anna Maria Taigi, pray for us.